Good day, everyone. I am Princess May Dumanov, and today I want to share with you a thrilling story. It is a story that creeps out of the fog, where danger hides behind a stranger's smile. And it will make you wonder how well you really know the person you welcome into your life. This is the story of the lodger, written by Marie Belloc Lowndes. The story began in London many years ago, when the city was cold, foggy, and full of fear. Thus, dark streets whispered with danger because terrible murders of young women were taking place nearby. Inside a small and modest home, Mr. and Mrs. Bunting, a poor couple, worried constantly about how they would pay for food and bills. One night, when things seemed hopeless, a tall and strange man knocked on their door. His name was Mr. Sloot. He asked to rent a room. At last, the Buntings were relieved. They finally had someone who could pay and help them. At first, Mr. Sloot seemed polite. He read the Bible, prayed often, and spoke calmly. But soon, strange things began to worry the Buntings. He never went out in the daytime. He only left late at night and returned pale and tired at dawn. In his room, he worked with bottles and powders as if doing secret experiments. At the same time, the murders in the city grew worse. Each time a new death was reported, Mrs. Bunting noticed that Mr. Sloot had just returned home. Her fear deepened with every coincidence. Could their lodger really be the avenger? Tension grew even more when the Bunting's niece Daisy came to visit. She was young and lively, the very type of girl the avenger was known to target. Mrs. Bunting could not hide her uneasiness whenever Daisy went near Mr. Sloot. Adding to the strain, Detective Joe Chandler often visited the house of the Buntings. He cared for Daisy, but he was also one of the policemen investigating the Avenger's case. Each time Joe sat in their home talking about the murders, Mrs. Bunting grew restless, afraid he might discover something about the mysterious lodger upstairs. The couple's doubts grew stronger. One day, Mrs. Bunting searched Mr. Sloot and accidentally tipped over a bottle of red liquid. It was only ink, yet she froze, because the Avengers always left red ink notes behind his victims, like a terrible receipt. Another night, Mr. Bunting brushed against Sloot's coat and found his hands stained with fresh blood. The signs were becoming too hard to ignore. The couple felt trapped. If they stayed silent, they might be protecting a murderer. If they spoke, they might put themselves and Daisy in danger. At last, Mr. Bunting told Detective Joe what they had noticed. Joe and Inspector Hopkins made a plan. They followed Mr. Sloot and arrested him. At the station, Mr. Sloot explained his secret. His daughter, he said, had been the Avenger's first victim. Since then, he had searched for the killer himself. The blood on his coat and the red ink were part of his desperate hunt. He admitted that grief had made him act strangely, but he swore he was not the murderer. Just then, news came that the real Avenger had been cornered at the docks. Shots were fired and the killer was dead. Freed from suspicion, Mr. Sloot quietly packed his things. He left money for the Buntings and a notebook. Then, without a word, he disappeared into the fog. When the Buntings opened the notebook, they found it filled with careful records of the Avenger's crime. Every street, every hour, every time. Written in red ink was it the work of a grieving father or the diary of a vendor himself? No one could ever be so sure. Months later, Joe married Daisy. The Buntings used the money to buy a small cottage in the countryside. They lived peacefully, but the red notebook stayed hidden away. And whenever someone suggested they take in lodgers again, Mrs. Bunting would shake her head and say they had already had enough. This meant they never wanted to go through such a frightening experience again.